For my activity, I chose to go to Peak Experiences and complete the sampler climb. I did this with my younger brother, and we both got to do three climbs throughout the day. Almost immediately, I discovered that my brother was a far, if not strictly better, certainly faster climber than I was. And that while I struggled to get up the rock wall, he was able to move up incredibly quickly. After getting over this kind of humbling moment of my younger brother of 4 years being able to be significantly more athletic at the sport, I was able to find that I really did enjoy it. There were some moments when I was trying out more difficult climbs where it was hard to remember which different colors I was supposed to go on. And I was immediately struck by how some of the rock climbers are able to just sense which rock is right for their foot. As one of the hardest things for me was just figuring out where my feet and hands should go sometimes. That being said, everyone was super friendly and accommodating, and it was a really fun activity. There's something super satisfying about getting to the top of that wall and looking down and seeing that you did that. It's just such a cool feeling of conquering it. And I could really see how some people who get really into the sport really get a rush out of it as a sort of extreme sport of conquering bigger and crazier walls. The other thing that I found when completing this activity was that there were moments of kind of fear from the heights. However, once I realized that I was strapped in and my instructor reminded me that I could hang there if I had to, all the tension kind of disappeared. It was much easier and more calming once I realized that there was no real risk of me falling or injuring myself, and that the only pace I had to keep up with was my own. Amusingly, the thing I struggled with the most was actually working on tying up my harness. It was my instructor had to keep showing me how to do it. Luckily, I did eventually figure that out, which was one thing I still had over my brother. He struggled more with the harness, although his climbs were much more intense. It was really funny. I was feeling by the end more confident in my climbs when I saw a child who couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 go and do the climb I had just struggled with in about 2 minutes. So, another case of something being rather humbling. This is definitely not a sport that I'm very good at. My instructor later informed me that I was using my arms too much and not relying on my legs enough. And it's definitely something I'd have to practice more if I wanted to pursue. But it's a really, really fun activity that I enjoyed. I found the people at Peak Experience were great at talking about how they wanted to facilitate building a love for the sport, and I really did see how one could learn to love something like climbing and the thrill it gives you. So that's kind of a general summary of my experience of the sampler climb at Peak Experiences. It is definitely something I think I'm going to do again in the future because I feel that it just provided such an opportunity to try something I had never tried before and to really feel like I was conquering something, to conquer gravity, to scale directly up a wall is something that feels so incredible and powerful in just triumphing over nature in that sense, despite the fact that I still had the assistance of the rock wall and of a harness to do so. It felt like a really human accomplishment, and I think that's why the sport is so fun and so exciting to people who continue it. I'd say Peak is a great organization and rock climbing a exhilarating sport.